Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 293. Real life stories from Mayberry. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the great folks over at Weaver's Department Store. Drop by over at Weaver's and pick up some of the wonderful Mayberry items you got over there. All kinds of cool things. So just go and browse around at Weaver's and see what you like. If you're a Mayberry fan, you're going to love it. WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners just like you. The executive producer of episode number 293 is my son, Adam Newsom. Thank you to the Mayberry Band for that wonderful rendition of Stars and Stripes Forever and our theme song here at Two Chairs No Waiting. I am your host for Two Chairs, Alan Newsom. It's great to have you with me in Mayberry. And this week we're going to be talking about, what did I call it? Real life stories from Mayberry. Now, this is going to be kind of fun. It's just a lot of me talking, and it's a story not really from the Andy Griffith Show. This is more a story of the of a father who is very involved in the Andy Griffith Show and the frustration it can cause in his family members. All right, so I don't know. You guys know we have a Two Chairs No Waiting site over on Facebook. You guys hopefully have seen that before. It's you go to facebook.com/2chairs and you'd be able to see that. Well, because I'm on Facebook, you know, I have a lot of friends on Facebook now, and a lot of the people who follow me are Mayberry fans, you know, like you. And they follow me as a person, as they follow me as a Newsom at Facebook. They'll get and follow me. And as part of that, you know, I've got several, I don't know, 1,000 plus friends. And everything that gets posted on Facebook by either my wife or my son, no matter whether it is related to the Andy Griffith Show or not, becomes a Mayberry topic. For instance, if there were pictures of my son playing in the marching band, which he does, and he happens to play the trombone, there will naturally be stories or comments that are created on that picture. If he's tagged in a picture that I'm also tagged in, there'll be comments about the Andy Griffith Show in some ways, like you're Andy Gumping it or something like that. So the frustration of my 17-year-old, currently a senior in high school, son, Adam, was recently revealed to me as we were driving for his first college visit. You know, it was between his junior and senior year. We were driving down to Auburn, Alabama, because he had applied at Auburn. So we wanted to carry him down there and let him go on the tour. So it was my wife, Jan, myself, and Adam riding in the car for about, I don't know, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, something to get down to Auburn. And as we drove down there, the discussion turned to my son saying, "Dad, every time I post something that I tag you in or something that Mom tags you in, the discussion always turns to Mayberry." And it's just, not everything is about the Andy Griffith Show. And so I was like, well, I understand that. But, you know, the people who are friends with me, many of them know me from about the Andy Griffith Show, because I do Floyd, or because maybe about the podcast. And so they know me like that. We went on probably an hour-long conversation about this and discussing why it is that everything I do has to have something to do with the Andy Griffith Show, even when it's not related in any way. People can always find something that, whether it's like 92, oh, it's hot. You know, they'll make comments like that because it was summertime. There'll be, like I said, Andy Gumping it with the trombone. I can't even give you all the different examples that he was giving that day. And Jan started chiming in too. You know, yeah, that does happen a lot. And it is sometimes frustrating because you're trying to talk about, I don't know, church. And then people start bringing up how the organ needs to be replaced, or the foundation, or the church robes, or something from the Andy Griffith Show, and making it into an Andy Griffith topic. Well, so they both, we talked about it all the way down, and they were both jumping on me saying, yeah, that happens all the time. It's frustrating sometimes. So we discussed this, as I said, probably an hour or more during this three and a half hour drive down to Auburn. Well, it was funny. I was enjoying it, laughing. We were all kind of kidding about it and stuff. So we got to Auburn, and the next morning, we went down there and stayed at the hotel. The next morning, we headed over to the tour. So when we get to the building where they're going to have the tour, they had us standing around out there for a little while. We started looking around, and everything was fun, and we were having a good time. So we go back into the back room where this little conference room type thing they had set up, and the girl who was going to kind of give us an overview of Auburn and what it's all about. So we went in there and sat down. They had a whole bunch of rows of chairs, and so I was sitting to Adam's left, and Jan was, I believe, on the other side of Adam, on his right. So we were sitting there on probably about the second row, and the girl stands up and she begins to tell us about Auburn. And she has probably a 60-inch television screen behind her where she is showing PowerPoint type slides with information and facts about the Andy Griffith Show. Now, this young lady was probably, I would say, in her late 20s, possibly 30s. But she was young, she was in her early 30s, I would say. Anyway, so she begins to tell us about Auburn. She says, Auburn's a small town. It has, about 58,000 people here during most of the year when the students are here. But when they're gone, it's only about, somewhere around 25,000 people here in town. She said, I always like to tell my students here, that it's a lot like Mayberry. So I proceeded to then just glance over at Adam and kind of nod and fold my arms and grin. And he was just shaking his head going, I cannot believe, after this long conversation the day before riding in the car, that now the lady here at Auburn is telling us about, the Andy Griffith Show. So after we got out of the orientation or the tour, I brought this up, and of course that was a long conversation in and of itself. So we had a lot of fun with that. I did, saying, look, Adam, she's a friend of mine on Facebook. And he's like, really? I go, no, she's really not. I said, it's just the pure fact that I'm in the room and the Mayberry vibe just filled the whole room, and she could not help but say that Auburn's a lot like Mayberry. So to top it all off, a couple of weeks later, we get a phone call from Auburn. And I want to play the phone call for you because we weren't here, so they left us a voicemail. I've cut out parts of it and made it shorter, and I beeped out the phone number so that you guys won't be calling them. But here's the phone call that we heard on the answer machine. Now remember, Adam's complained that everything's always about Mayberry. That, we talked about the Facebook people do this to him. And then, he's down there and she says, Auburn's a lot like Mayberry. Well, here is the phone call that we got.
Hi, my name is Aaron, a student calling from Auburn University, and this message is for James. I was calling today to thank you for sending in your ACT scores. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact your regional admissions advisor. His name is Andrew Taylor.
Andrew Taylor.
Thank you, and have a great day.
His name is Andrew Taylor. The guy from the admissions office, who's our regional director that would be needing to talk to Adam's name is Andy Taylor. Can you believe that? After all these things going on, it was absolutely, I couldn't believe it. And of course, I've kept the message. So here it is. I was able to play it for you because I thought it was so funny. So anyway, then just another week later, Adam's at band camp. So this is all about Adam this week. So that's right. He's the executive producer because I'm using him as my example this week. He was at band camp, for the beginning of the senior year, and he had gone. He had to because during band camp they had registration for the seniors. So he had to run in and do his registration. And when he came back out, the rest of the band's already lined up out there, and everybody's in place. So Adam's trying to run to his place. He gets in his spot and he stands up. He stands there. And the band director yells, Adam! And Adam's thinking, oh no, what have I done? He goes, and the band director says, Adam, what does hooty-hoo, hooty-hoo, what does that mean? And Adam goes, I don't know. And so the band director said, your parents are going to be so disappointed in you. So, of course, you know, and I know, and Adam realized when they said that your parents are going to be disappointed in you, that hooty hoo, that comes Gomer when he was outside waiting to spot Andy and Helen when they came up. He was supposed to give a sign, hooty hoo, but he didn't because, you know, he had a mouthful of crackers. Anyway, so Adam cannot escape his Mayberry references no matter where he is, whether it be on Facebook, riding down to Auburn, being at Auburn and being told that, or finding out that the recruiter's name is Andrew Taylor, or at band camp. So, folks, Mayberry in real life is everywhere. And I just had to share those stories with you. I think they're pretty amazing, and I hope you enjoyed it. So, let's see. I got one little story for you I can tell, too, here at the end, because I ran across these as I was looking up, and to just fill out a little more time here to make it fun. Here's what I found. I found a story about Clara Edwards. Y'all remember her, Aunt Bee's friend? Well, Clara Edwards was collecting money for the Underprivileged Children's Drive, like she does every year, when she saw old Ben Weaver walking out of the store and figured it was a good time to hit him up for a donation. You see, Ben's the richest man in Mayberry, and he's also one of the stingiest. So Miss Edwards asked Ben, she said, Ben, Mr. Weaver, she said, we all know you're the wealthiest man in town many times over, and yet you haven't made a contribution to the Underprivileged Children's Drive for many years. Please, Ben, give something to help these poor needy children. And Ben says, you don't know all the facts here, Clara, Ben explained. I got 2 sisters. Both of them are paupers. I got a brother who's deaf and blind. I got 1 no-account nephew and 2 old maid nieces, and none of them have done a day's work in their life. So tell me, Miss Needy Children's Drive, if I don't give it to them, why should I give it to you? Yeah, okay, well, that's as good a joke as I've got. But it's a good story, and it sounds like Ben, doesn't it? All right, folks, hey, I'd love to hear from you. If you got any stories from real life, Mayberry stories from real life, I would love to hear them. And evidently, I'd done a podcast about this a long time ago, back on episode 32, that says stories from Mayberry. And I believe they're similar, stories from real life. So if you guys have any, I would love to hear them. So give me a call at 888-684-8415 and tell them to us. Yours has got to be as good as mine. Andrew Taylor from Auburn. Or you can email them to me if you have it all written out. You can email me at floyd@imayberry.com. I'd love to hear from you either way. And I can't wait to see you next week right here on 2 Chairs No Waiting, your Mayberry podcast. Until then, have a great week and look for some Mayberry in real life, folks. Good night, everybody.